After 13 years and 6 different presidents of the United States of America, we finally made it to decision day, and just like the rest of the season, it was pretty dull. Thanks to the lack of expert intervention, there wasn't much individual growth for these cast members. I mean, if they're not going to give us good couples to root for, at least give us some enormous individual growth for the cast. Hi, I'm Tamara, and this is Tamara Lynette Tells. By the way, if you watch my video about my weight loss journey and the 75-day challenge me and some of you are joining me in, I've been posting little daily clips of my workouts in my Instagram stories, so be sure to follow me at Tamara Lynette Tells and check them out if you would like to follow along. And shout out to my small but mighty Facebook group. We got this. Don't give up. And I also want to give a special shout out to Soros Getting Fit and Finer, who were inspired to join me for 30 of the 75 days. I'm not mad at you for cutting it. 75 days is a long time. But I love that we have created a community where we inspire each other in positive ways. Oh, and if you stick around to the end, I have a spoiler about what Shaq is going to say on Decision Day. But have no fear, I will give you fair warning and time to click out of the video before I spill the tea. Chris and Pepper Cow, also known as Nicole. I think in my fog of boredom with this show, I forgot I nicknamed Nicole Pepper Cow in the last few videos. Anyway, her anxiety, anxiousness, self-doubt, or whatever you want to call it, was on 10 in this episode. Her conversation with Chris about Decision Day had me pulling out my weave, y'all. I'm just worried about being apart and having time to think about
things will make us think, oh, this isn't what I want for my future. Like maybe you realize you want someone taller or smaller or bigger than me. Maybe being away from me in an experiment, you'll realize that your life before is better than what it is now. And since you didn't pick me anyway...
Pineapple. Chris, throw out the safe word already. Dang it, woman, you're about to talk this man out of choosing you. Just imagine how much she could have changed this behavior if the experts were allowed to coach her multiple days a week. It would have been awesome to have witnessed a huge difference in this sort of behavior from Pepper Cow from when this season started back in 1989 to now. But instead, this process seems to have made it worse. She's just more aware of her quirks now. To the confessional cam, Chris said that if he says no, it would be because she questions everything and he doesn't want to put up with that for the rest of his life. So Chris is basically putting her on notice. He's not going to put up with this spiraling behavior forever. Since the show didn't help her, she's going to need to seek help in order to hold on to Chris or any other man for that matter. As for their decision day, it was what we expected. They both said yes, and then they walked off into the sunset to their separate apartments because Chris didn't want to deal with their living situation until now. So good luck, you two. If Pepper Cow can get her spiraling under control, I believe they have a chance at lasting a couple of years, if not longer. But if she doesn't, she'll scare Chris away. Jasmine and Orgy. Jasmine finally found her voice a little bit during this session with Pastor Cal and Dr. Pepper. When asked about the challenges she faced during the marriage, she talked about him not being attracted to her. She said, I think I'm beautiful and a bad bitch, but if he's not attracted to me, then stand on it and let that be it. Honestly, I don't know if she really found her voice or she was just faking it until she makes it during this moment, but either way, I'm here for it. Let them know, girl, I'm a bad bitch, so if you don't like me, then you must not be able to handle a bad bitch. Take your toys and run back in them streets and play your games with those little girls you're used to. Orgy said he feels like a connection started, but it started too late in the marriage because he was all up in his head. No, you weren't up in your head. You were up in your pants and nothing down there was moving when Jasmine walked in the room. But because he signed a contract, we had to watch him try to pretend he wanted to be in this marriage so that they could drag out this show for 86 episodes. So when it came time to say if she wanted to stay married or get a divorce, she said she knows what she wants in a marriage and the desires of her heart, but she doesn't feel like they made it there, so she wants a divorce. Woo! Thank you, baby Jesus. I was concerned she might say yes. And I'm happy they allowed her to go first, so we wouldn't question if she only said no because he did. Now, he said he feels like there's a lot of good, but it's not enough to sustain a marriage, and that he learned what it is to be married, but they are not where they want to be, so no. You know what? Who gives a damn for the reasons why? This runaway train just needed to stop. They were another couple that should have had an early decision day, but of course, they can't allow all the couples to leave early because they wouldn't have enough people to fill their 1.5 hour time slot in 96 episodes. Chow, when Pastor Cal asked if they learned anything about themselves through this process, and Orgy said, I learned that I love me. I love Airris. Like I stand in the mirror and hug myself 5 times a day. After I brush my teeth, I smile so I can see myself smiling. It's just so great to wake up and say, show me how good today can be. I don't know if you hear me when I say that. You might be asleep though, but I do. Orgy, you sound so basic. There's a fine line between self-love and arrogance. If you loved yourself, then you would have worked on your resting bastard face and how badly you objectify women by now, Mr. Blow Her Back Out. Then he had the nerve to accuse Jasmine of not loving herself, basically because she doesn't check in when he's acting a fool and instead shuts down, and he claims she's not being true to herself in those moments. Child, she's already got a job and a bunch of puppies. She don't have time to train a 40-year-old dog. How about you check yourself and stop cutting up? Anyway, Orgy, you and all of your inexperience are not in a position to be diagnosing somebody else's state of mind or self-worth. People could easily accuse you of having low self-esteem since you've never allowed a woman to get close enough to value you for more than a lap around the bed. And why are you coming for my girl anyway when her biggest mistake was giving you a chance while being classy and graceful in the process? Whew, you got my pressure all up. So Pastor Cal asked Jazz what she was feeling. She said, first of all, I have plenty of self-love. And secondly, he has commitment issues. He's used to ghosting girls when it no longer feels right. And if it wasn't the attraction thing, it would have been something else. I don't think he was ready to be married, and I never got a true effort from him. Thank you, Jasmine. Call his butt out. His braless cousin was right from day one when she said, don't do this, you are not ready. And now he's got his nerve to sit back and put blame on Jasmine as if she was the problem in this marriage and that it would have been a happy and healthy marriage if it wasn't for her self-esteem. Pastor Cal and Dr. Pepper, if you don't throw this fish back in the pissy pool you found him in, and to further prove that he didn't grow at all during the season or marriage, to the confessional cam, he was rambling on like he was a victim about how this wasn't what he expected and thought that marriage sex was going to be great, acting like Jasmine robbed him of an experience. He said, I didn't get all the things I was looking forward to, like harder, there, that's my spot, lift my leg up. I didn't get none of that. Orgy, it is so pathetic that you had to go through all of this just to quench your curiosity about married sex, when all you had to do was get one of your F-girls to role play being your wife and stop wasting all of our time. Those statements right there summed up why you don't cast F-boys on this show. He came on here to have 8 weeks of free sex. He doesn't know what love feels like either, but this dude is walking around bummed that he didn't get to add married sex to his F-boy resume. Orgy, good riddance. Now, as for Jasmine, to the confessional cam, she said she chose herself. And she doesn't regret doing the show, apparently, because she grew and now she knows what she wants in a marriage and is more excited than ever to be married. I'm happy that she's walking away feeling no regrets, but I do. I regret for her that the show gambled with her life by pairing her with a self-proclaimed F-boy who has never been in a long-term relationship and never been in love. It doesn't take an experienced matchmaker to know that that was a bad idea from the get-go. I think Jasmine could have had a real chance if they gave her someone who was serious. I just hope she finds a man who loves and appreciates her because she deserves that. Chuck Norris, aka Clint, and Gina. In the piece they played before they sat down with the experts, Chuck Norris was talking about Gina having a busy schedule and the drive it took to get to the point of her having her own salon. Then he said, but I don't want to talk about her salon all the time. Gina has no game. She talks about Chuck and his personality, but what else you got in your arsenal to talk about other than your salon, ma'am? So during their meeting with Pastor Cal and Dr. Pepper, they talked about what a great listener Chuck Norris is and how Gina liked leaning on him for advice and an ear when she was going through some drama at her salon. Listening to them talk about why they didn't work and what they could have done differently leads me to believe that if they wouldn't have been so brutally honest during the honeymoon, they would have had a chance of at least giving their marriage a shot. But it doesn't sound like Gina ever got over Chuck not seeing her as a professional athlete. So Gina said no to staying married, and while Chuck was saying no to staying married, he said, I don't think I'm the husband that is deserving of either of us. Say what now? I don't think I'm a husband that is deserving of either of us. I think my 5th grade English teacher just flipped around in her grave after hearing that disjointed run-on sentence like, what? So anyway, after they said no to staying married, Gina said she wishes that Chuck would have set the tone in the beginning and fought for the marriage. Okay, but since he didn't, why didn't you? You were the one who slam dunked him into the friend zone, had to be convinced to move into the shared apartment, insulted him multiple times by calling him a ginger, then talked his ear off about your salon, not to mention calling him weird with bizarre energy or whatever you said. You gave him nothing to work with, but expected him to want you so bad anyway that he fought through all of your BS to try to make this marriage work by himself? Girl, if you don't go shampoo, cut, and color somebody's hair and get off my screen. She keeps mentioning that she wanted Chuck to pursue her, but this is what happens when you say I do after knowing him for only 2 minutes. You forfeited pursuit, boo-boo. You's married now. Chuck brought up a good point. He said that in the beginning, she kept saying that she was uncomfortable and it didn't feel organic and things felt forced, but that's the nature of this experiment. You literally signed a contract that forced you to marry someone you didn't know, behave like his wife, and sleep in the same room with him from day one. There is nothing organic about that. So of course it's going to be uncomfortable. Of course it's going to feel forced. I believe Gina shut down like way too much. Chuck didn't see a way to break through, so he simply met her at her level, which is a level she didn't like when he did it to her. But what I don't like is that no one called Gina out for not behaving like a wife, not creating a space for Chuck to feel like a husband and want to treat her as more than a friend, for not opening up and being vulnerable. Like, who the hell is Gina? What did we learn about her other than her salon chronicles? Why are they allowing her to blame Chuck for not laying the foundation for their marriage to thrive? She caused more damage than he did. Oh, but one thing this show didn't mislead us about is Chuck's love for Hank, Gina's dog. He offered Gina $10,000 for Hank. Hands down, this was the best match of this show's history. In the end, Chuck took a sip of champagne and said it tastes like sweet failure. I don't see Chuck as a failure. I see him as someone who wasn't given a chance, then was thrown under the bus by a woman he wasn't even attracted to. Kirsten and Shaq. Now, you know I've been going back and forth about Kirsten all season. Does she really like him or is she just playing games? After this episode, I'm swaying towards believing that she did start to fall for him after not finding him attractive at first. Now, hear me out. When I look at the bigger picture, they film these couples between 40 to 60 hours a week, of which we see about 20 minutes. In the meantime, these cast members have no idea what footage is actually going to make it on the show or how they're going to edit it to create a narrative that may or may not be true to their personal character. So how would she know that they weren't going to show footage of the two of them getting along and having good moments together? And let's not forget that this show isn't always the best at telling these couples' stories, because there have definitely been times that couples were portrayed as practically hating each other who surprisingly said yes on decision day. Like almost all of season 14 said yes when they were setting us up throughout the season for a full round of no's, and we never got to see why they said yes. So there's a lot of footage that we will never see that may have shown Shaq and Kirsten's progression or pivotal moments they had that brought them closer that we missed. I really believe that we are missing big pieces of their relationship puzzle that would explain why Kirsten started to catch some feelings. When he was leaving the day before decision day, I believed her when she was saying, "Don't go, don't leave." Then gave him a big bear hug before he walked out of the door, all the while he was acting like he couldn't get away from her fast enough. But don't get me wrong, I'm not letting Kirsten off the hook for being superficial, too outspoken about not being attracted to him, and pushing him away hard for what seems like half of their marriage. But I did get the impression that she was nervous about what his response was going to be on decision day. Speaking of decision day, what in the low-budget cartoon villain was he wearing? Even clowns were looking at that suit like, dude, you're doing too much. That suit pretty much represents their marriage, though, confusing and all over the place. So he told the experts that it was hard for him to be the leader in the household because she's dominant. Here's where I wish they kept the episode in on where they discuss their finances, income, and debt. We know he has student loans, but they haven't shared how well she's doing in her career, debt, spending habits, and decision making. I say this because it's difficult to impossible to hand over control of our life to a stranger who may be less responsible with money than you and have a ton more debt than you and makes bad decisions. Like, I need more details. She said he's more sensitive than she is, so it's hard for her to learn how to support him and care about his feelings. Is that what she meant to say? It's hard for her to care about his feelings? I mean, he does come across as a whiner and a Donnie Downer, so maybe those moments are what she's talking about? Because he did launch into his sob story again about her not being there for his work event. He will never forgive her for that one, even though he admitted to not clearly communicating that he wanted her to be there. Remember at Afterparty, she said she invited herself to that event. He didn't even invite her. Then after she invited herself, he was like, yeah, you can come. You have friends there. I mean, the communication between these two is beyond horrible. So when it came time to give her answers to staying married or getting divorced, Kirsten said because he showed support, showed good character, and came home with flowers and candy, she wants to stay married. Now, of course, they didn't show us those moments of him coming home with flowers and candy for her. Their happier days, which is reason number 36 why I feel like this show didn't properly tell us their story. But her yes didn't surprise me. During this episode, she was giving us yes vibes and felt concerned about his doubts, though. As for Shaq, he didn't seem fazed by her yes to staying married. He was talking slow and trying to choose his words, but struggling to say that it's been hard for him to step up to be the man she wants him to be. Give her all the charms life has to offer. Then, of course, they left his answer as a cliffhanger for next week. This is how bad the show is struggling for drama and excitement. They had to manufacture it by cutting Shaq off mid-sentence and making us wait a week for his answer. Overall, the answers we've seen are not a surprise, and with the exception of Kirsten, so far, we've guessed these outcomes during their honeymoons. This show is making such a huge mistake by keeping the experts on the sidelines. Watching bad marriages remain bad and the people in them stay pretty much the same as they were when the season started is not must-see TV. Either they need to go all out and cast outrageous people who will give us entertaining drama, and all drama doesn't have to be scandalous, by the way, or reinsert the experts and give these couples a real shot at a marriage and individual growth, while at the same time maybe helping us viewers learn a few nuggets of wisdom. But keeping the show the same is lame, and yes, I meant to rhyme that time. And hey, I did it again. Okay, so as promised, if you would like to know what Shaq's answer on Decision Day is going to be, keep watching. If you want to wait until the episode airs, this is your cue to jump ship, but not before I thank you for hanging out with me this far. Thank you. Okay, final warning, tea will be spilt in 2 seconds. So according to MAFS fan, the word on the street is that only one of these couples say yes to staying married on Decision Day, and we already know who that couple is, Pepper Cal and Chris. Shaq is going to say no to staying married to Kirsten, and it's also rumored that something about Shaq's answer will bring Pastor Cal to tears. Not clear if they are tears of disappointment, concern, frustration, or what. But there you have it. Oh, and please do not mention this spoiler in the comments because it can ruin the episode for those who want to wait until it airs to know what he's going to say. Well, that's all I have for now. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in my next video.